Alright, I am building a 94 Pathfinder from ground up, and it's going to be bagged and body dropped. And I'm ready to put this body back on the frame. I've got a lot of the things completed already that I needed done. Now I'm going to have to do it without scratching any of the door jambs or rockers. I've got it on a frame table, and I did that so that I could clean up all of the underside and seal it up really nice. I've welded all of this in. It was easier to do on a frame table. I've welded all of this in and sealed it up nice. That's just some dust. I've got tubs and stuff made for that. It's all going to go on. Here is this side body mounts. The other side body mounts are over there in the floor. Here is the frame. I ended up having to cut the back of the frame off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this where it bolts back in place. I've got a roll pan that is going to go on this. Right there's my roll pan up on my wiring table. So the roll pan kind of comes down at an angle and closes in. And whenever I built the frame, I built it level. It goes right in behind that. So that is going to hit by just barely. So I knocked off that, and I expect it to be enough. And my air tank is mounted on that. It's still fairly sturdy, but I will fix that. Should be able to bolt back in. I'm going to do this hopefully without scratching anything. First things first, I have this gantry, and I'm going to be lifting with a chain hoist. Hopefully I can center this without too much trouble using some moving blankets. This is an I-beam, and I use this to cradle the rocker. And I'm just going to use a moving blanket to hopefully not scratch or dent my rocker that I have painted. It's going to be very tedious. I'm doing this by myself, so I may end up having to move these bars or move this center beam. I've got it to where it slides in and out right there, and also right here it goes into a smaller bar, which is supposed to be attached to the smaller bar. But anyway, so I can move this, and I can also move it here up and down. And then I'm probably going to have to put something on the back, ratchet strap or something up to here to help hold the back up. I can't get far enough back because of the way the body mounts are right there. It angles up, and it causes my C-channel not to really be able to grab that right. Alright, I got my ladder. I used this angle iron and this hammer, and I was adjusting this beam into that beam, trying to make this smaller, shorter, so that the other would have more leverage and it would try to pull this other side up. It didn't work, so I added some weight. I put 5 gallons, it's really about 3.5 gallons, 4 gallons, lacquer thinner, and a big heavy battery, and some huge-ish jack stands in the back. That didn't work either. I climbed up this other side, and I put a ratchet strap. I'm out of breath a little bit. I did scratch it here. The trim covers that. It's an edge that fits over that. So that is not gonna matter. So at this point, I am teetering. I'm going to move my ladders And then I'm completely off of my frame table. I'm going to pull that out into the yard. And then I'm going to roll my frame up underneath the Pathfinder. And I am going to attempt to lower this down. The way that I have this ratchet strap fitted, it will lower down and it will not be in any bind because this whole thing lowers from the chain hook down. If I was to grab onto this I-beam, it would have thrown this out of whack as I lowered or lifted. So all of that being said, by myself, I'm going to yank this out, roll that up in there, move this ladder, and alright, and this is the nose, so I'm not going to be up against my motor at all with the nose of this. That has got a pin, it's a bolt, but it pins in and then it bolts in place here, here, and along 3 spots here on both sides. So that's what this side looks like. Alright, boy, that breeze feels good. I'll cut you back on in a minute. I am about to try to lower this down now. Looks like it needs to come back a hair further. I'll have to move these brake lines. I just painted this morning and I do not want to drip any brake fluid on that. I'll figure out a way to tape those or something. I'll cut you back on. Alright, I got the body on. I don't know where I was at, honestly, videoing on this. I'm missing some bolts. I'm going to try to find those bolts. These I have made. I don't know what the factory looked like. I welded a square plate that fits into that hole and welded a bolt onto that. Anyway, I got it to fit on both sides, and so I know that's lined up, and it took me a minute to figure out which bushing went where. These on the Pathfinder in the middle here, in between the 2 doors, there is no hole, and I remember now that the bushing bolted in from the bottom, so I'm going to have to find some bolts for that, and I'm going to have to find some bolts for the front right here, and it's not lined up perfect. Maybe I can tweak on that, and maybe I can find my bolts. I bet those are my bolts. Those are 2 different sizes. Anyway, I will continue to look. These bushings go in the front, obviously. I've labeled these 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think I labeled them wrong, or it's kind of rubbed off, so I'm not real sure. But everything seems to be lining up pretty good. I'm going to continue bolting this down, and I will cut you back on in just a little bit. Okay, I decided to go ahead and put it all up on jack stands because I put it together. I was missing some bolts. I went and found some bolts, and I've got a truck sitting behind my house here that was wrecked, and I pulled some bushings out of the front and out of the very front. This cab is the same as a truck right there and up at the nose, so I know it'll be right, but these back here will probably all be different. Well, definitely all be different. But what I did is I put this together, and I have got a great deal of slack back here in the bushing, and that is not right. I'm trying to figure out what happened. I know I'm missing some bolts. These back here are bigger bolts. These are M12 with a 1.25 thread, and the others appear to be an M10 with a 1.25 thread. I'm still not sure what this one is. It bolts in from the bottom. It doesn't line up very good at all, and the bolt that I put in prior, this last time that I put it together, was too long and it busted through the floor. And now I don't know what size bolt that is. I can't get one of these to go in it. So now what I'm going to do is jack up the body. I try to do it very carefully so I don't damage my rocker. And I will pull these bushings back out, and I'll set it back down on some thicker bushing, if I can find some thicker bushing. I've got a bowl over here. I got this at Tractor Supply, and I've been cutting bushings for other things out of this, and I might just cut some out of this thick dog bowl, because I can't find anything. I don't know what happened to my stuff. It's really aggravating me. Alright, I've looked for probably 3 hours today and still cannot find the bolts or these bushings. I did find these, and I'm going to use these on the bottom of the back here. And I found this nut that is a nylon locking nut. So I've got everything basically to do the back, and I've got enough bolts to bolt here. I just have to get thicker bushings, and I've got enough stuff to go on the bottom of these back here, and I've got nuts. And I was able to also get all of my stuff from my parts truck to bolt this one in. And I will need one more bolt and one more nut to be able to put this together. But this bolt, after doing a body drop, that bolt hangs down too low. So what I'm going to do is try to find a shorter bolt for these up here, and I can use these longer bolts for this very front. I'll probably end up drilling this from the bottom side all the way through, and I can put a bolt through the top. The carpet will cover over that. I'm not real concerned about it. It'll bolt down real nice. I don't know where those went either. Those will be a lot shorter. I took it apart and I laid everything over here, and it's not over here now. I left it apart too long. It's very aggravating. Alright, I'll cut you back on once I figure something out. I've got it all jacked back up. I pulled these come out from right here. So what we've got is this fits down into a pocket. That is the only one that will fit, so I know it is the right one. But I had this one back here, and it turns out this one is the other half of that. So I don't even know what is supposed to fit in here. I don't even have it. But what I do know is I cannot use that, because whenever I did the body drop, these body mounts are lower on the frame than they used to be. So if I was to put this on, it would be sitting lower than the frame. I'm gonna have to put a big washer and put a bolt up in there. That is how that's gonna have to fit. I'm gonna put this body mount back in here where it goes. And I'm going to find something thicker than this or add to this to fit on this one. And guess I'll just cut you back on when I figure something out. Well, I have looked at some of these other bushings that I had spare at this point, and they're just too small diameter. So I don't need that much height, and I need more diameter. So what I've decided to do, I've got one of these Pathfinders out in the woods in my personal salvage yard, and what I'm going to do is go out there in the morning. I'll get the weight off of this so that it doesn't mess up my rocker. Lovely day out in the woods. It's cool this morning. This is my Pathfinder that I've got. It's been out here for a couple of years. So I've got most of the interior already removed. So what I've got to do is pull this plug right here, and then I can see the bolt head. And under here, I can see how it was fitted factory. As long as I don't get snake bit out here, I'm alright. I'm going to possibly remove this bolt so that I can see what bushing that is. I'll have to pick the body up in order to get the other bushing that it's sitting on out of there. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that very easily. What I might do is, I got this rubber mat this morning at Home Depot. I might just cut some biscuits out of that and stick in there. But I will need, I think, 2 more bolts. I've got some trucks over here. I think maybe I will just remove some bolts out of the nose of one of these trucks out here. So I think I brought my impact. Truck's locked. This truck's about as good as any. The bolts don't look real bad rusted, so I'm gonna go ahead and snag those. This truck here, I'm probably going to take back to the house. I drove it out here. It has a rod knocking. I'm tempted to put the motor out of that wreck truck that I just got at the house into this one. It would run and drive if it just had an engine. It is all beat to crap, but it would run and drive. So these would be the easiest to get to. I'm just gonna go ahead and see if I can yank these bolts here out. I might be able to jack that up and get that bushing out too. Alright, got the bolts out, pulled that bottom bushing off, sat in like this. The frame was in between, right here in between the upper and lower bushing. So then I jacked it up, jacked the body up, and separated the body from the frame just enough to get the upper bushing out. I'm pretty sure that I needed 3 of these bolts, so I'm going to go over to this red truck and I'm going to pull another bushing. I guess I'll get the whole thing if I can. Alright, and I will cut you back on a little bit. Alright, we're back in the shop. This is what I had in there, And this is what I just removed from the front of the truck out in the woods. And there is a height difference. So what I'm going to do is put that in there. See if that will correct our problem that we're having. And I'll update you later. Alright, the body is completely bolted down now. I went ahead and hammered that down, put a washer, and put the bolt coming up so that it wouldn't hang down past the frame. It's got a big washer on bottom. I will have to grind this bolt here down. Where's it at? Right there. It hangs down, you can tell, about an inch. I will cut that off with a cut-off wheel on a grinder. Everything is fitted. Those bushings worked back here really well. Everything's good now. I'm just going to get my air lines routed up into the cab and get my valve block up to where it will not get crushed whenever I lay this out. And then I will see what it looks like laid on the ground. So this is my manual valve block. Air jacks 4-play. And I am swapping out the fittings on the back for these straight ones. I used what I had on the shelf whenever I put this together a couple months ago. I'm using the Loctite 545 for a sealer, and I'm just hitting the first couple threads with this, and I'm gonna need 2 hands to get this, but I'm just doing the first couple threads here, and then screw it down and just get them pretty snug. I don't know exactly how tight you're supposed to get these. I get them pretty tight, not like super tight, because I do want to get them back off, but I don't want to break anything. I'll just go ahead and do it on camera here. You can see I'm shaking. Alright, so it's probably a little bit too much, but we'll screw it down in there. It shouldn't have any bad side effects. I'll just let this dry. After I tighten it, I will set it like this and let that dry so that any that might drip won't drip into the valve. It will stay back. So anyway, I'm gonna finish tightening that one, then I'll be ready to put this on, and I'm gonna let that dry for a good while before I put any air pressure behind it, because I want that stuff right there to seal up real nice, and I want it to not be liquidy whenever air pressure gets put on. One of these is an out and one of these is an in, and then the ones that I have plugs in go to the gauges that I don't have put in yet, and then the other 4 here will be for the air bags, and each switch will be for the one directly behind it. So I'm also going to run a line going out to vent all of my air out, because it is pretty loud inside the cab whenever I dump it. Alright, I'm gonna get this before it dries, get that tightened up. I'm gonna go ahead and assemble some of this other stuff while I'm waiting on that to dry. This is a little box that I built. It will hold a battery. I got 2 of these little boxes. They'll fit right underneath the back seat. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of this foam tape down. It's pretty thick stuff. Hopefully it'll squish down good enough. Maybe it will. Alright. I'm just going to stick it up on here where it'll seal off and trim it with the scissors. Pretty self-explanatory. And do this to both boxes and I'll get them bolted in. Got those in. Now I'm going to put the notch cover in. This all bolts in so that I can get in here and replace anything. Hopefully I'll never have to do that, but you never know. It'd be easy to get to an airbag right here. Just jack it up, take your fittings and your bolts out, and replace it from up here instead of being underneath. And that just bolts in. I'm gonna put the same foam tape on the underside to seal that up. This has got a sound deadener applied all over it. I've got all the seal put on. It's been squishing down real nice, so hopefully it will continue to do so. And I will, after I put this on, I will go ahead and hook up the air lines and get this in the floor. So I got all of the valves put in on the right hose. Got all of this put in. Got the battery put in the compartment here. The ground, everything is wired in. And I am sitting at 200 psi. The Pathfinder is about as high as it'll go at this point. I have plenty of ground clearance. I'm gonna set you up on the tripod. And there we are. Finally getting this thing put together. Now I just have to do everything else. Alright, like, share, any of that. Alright, appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.